If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to rate and review it. Your feedback will greatly impact our ability to reach more people. Thank you.
All right, I'm back, buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad you're back. We had the two good guest hosts, but it's nice to be back with the original.
Yeah,
so.
and the original but new office. So we don't have the kinks totally worked out. I'm not sure how sound, light, other things. You know, we got this window back here that we got to kind of work on.
It's a beautiful office with lots of light until we want to record.
Right, exactly. Exactly. But we got the wiring done, and the cameras are up, and the audio's up, and the recorder works, and so here we are, man. Good to be back. Thanks for holding down the fort for a couple of weeks while I was gone. Lots of great shows you launched. I saw the Kevin Holleran one just went live, which is fantastic. Mitch, that was very good. So kudos to him for standing in. Just thanks for holding it down while I was gone, man. I
our
appreciate
portfolio companies are pretty good. So, we had Janesh and Mitch both. They did a great job.
Yep. So. Agree. And anything you want to touch on before we jump in?
No, the world is changing before our eyes. So let's just jump in. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I guess I'll just say, this will come out on Saturday, which I think will be 9/13. Today is 9/11. Yeah. It never fails to bring me back to that moment whenever I look at the calendar and realize that the day is approaching, or it's on the day. I was actually talking to, I know we're going to talk about, the assassination of Charlie Kirk here in a bit. And I was texting with my son, who is 24, and he was, because I saw a post that was probably so many sad posts out there about what was happening yesterday, but I saw one post that was probably the wisest post I'd seen that said, if you are not under 30, you don't know what today means.
Right.
Talk to your kids. And I was like, yes, you're right. I don't know what today means. I actually don't know what today. I know this name, Charlie Kirk. I see him as an X account, but he's not.
He doesn't mean anything to
our generation. He's not meaningful, right?
Yeah.
He's meaningful.
But if you're under 30, there's a lot of people that that willingness to debate and have uncomfortable discussions, I think, is really valuable and part of what made young people attracted to him, whatever side you're on.
Attracted.
You either didn't like him or you did like him.
Correct. He was certainly polarizing, but you couldn't ignore him.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was texting with my 24-year-old, and we were, I was just like, hey, I just want you to know, I just want to listen and, understand. And he was sharing his thoughts with me, and it was this interesting opportunity for me to listen, say, I understand.
He's more plugged in than you are.
Yes. And then also share with him, when I was his age, for me to tell him, hey, I absolutely think you are growing up in a harder time than I grew up in. And having said that, when I was your age, I was texting with him yesterday, tomorrow, 9/11 happened.
Right.
Literally when I was his age, tomorrow, 9/11 happened. And, and he was less than 1 year old at the time. And I lost 7 people that day. And it was incredibly grim, and, certainly made me jaded about the world, because those are really hard things for a 20-something to sort of experience and try to process and understand, and what I said to him was, a really unfair trade happens in these times. You lose a little bit of hope, and you lose a lot of innocence, and you gain wisdom and perspective, and it's not a great trade.
Right. It's not fun. You don't like going through that.
It's not a great trade, but you do, the things you get help you make it through the next one. You know what I mean? It builds a sense of resiliency to let you know, humanity will continue. Yeah. Right. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree. Today they're doing a moment of silence up in New York at 9:00. We'll be recording, I think, during that. And then people will listen a couple of days from now. But yeah, definitely thinking of all the victims. There's a lot of cancer victims that are coming now, after the fact.
Yes, still. So anyway, with that, let's dig in. So quickly, we will just start by acknowledging, the the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Political assassinations are awful. Always. There is no but, there is no asterisk to it.
Yeah.
They are always bad because they erode civility, they destroy families, they traumatize all those who are present for them happening, and they divide us further. And they make everyone scared. And they're, murder is always bad.
Murder's always bad. Violence is never an answer.
No.
This is the first time in a long time that I can recall that the killer, the murderer, is still at large. At least right now on Thursday morning, still at large. So that's pretty scary too.
Yeah. So yeah. Look, I don't think we need to talk more about this because it's being talked about all the time. But obviously, a dark day in America. And look, and not the first political assassination we've had this year. You know, or attempt. The attempt of the governor of Pennsylvania, what happened in Minnesota. This trend is just
really
awful.
Bad murder in North Carolina last week. Yeah, it's continuing. Unfortunately, I think it's maybe speeding up and getting worse, which is not good.
Yeah. So hopefully our leaders can find a way to engage the public and get us to simmer down. Because this is not a good trend, and it makes everyone more worried, right? Yeah. And as we noted, it is 9/11, and so we'll have links to both the story from the New York Times on assassination of Charlie Kirk as well as the anniversary of the terrorist attack on American soil on 9/11. Okay, moving to the economy. Inflation rose to 2.9% in August. This is a continuing trend. And I think what is interesting about it is everyone basically believes that we're about to talk about jobs. And, the Fed, while they have a dual mandate, they have been very, very focused on inflation. And I think that's because they didn't, they're very much backward looking data.
Right.
Driven, and the data they had has now been heavily revised. So they're going to have to switch their tune. Isn't that right?
I think that's right. I mean, it's a dual mandate. I think the Fed is backward looking. They were still worried about the post-pandemic really high inflation, when I don't think my opinion is that's really not on the table anymore. That was
it's been gone for a while.
Been gone for a long time. So, but we're also not likely to hit their 2% goal.
No.
I think in the future, ever.
No. I mean, yes.
So they're in this box that they have created themselves by setting a goal that's, I think, very aggressive or unattainable on one side. And then, the jobs picture is becoming more and more dire. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Vic, I think we should look to bring on a guest at some point in the very near future to talk about the difference between monetary dominance and fiscal dominance.
Yeah.
Because it's clear now that's, you've mentioned it so many times, but we are clearly in this fiscal dominance model where the Fed is weakened because, the interest payments are just so significant that's what's actually driving everything at this point. Their tools are just not that effective in this moment. And we talk about the Fed and these rate cuts all the time. I think we started talking about them because they were really impactful to us as venture capitalists, because they pulled a lot. Hey, I got a little term for you that I heard.
Oh, okay.
I was at a GP event on Monday, and it was great. I'm not going to say who the LP was, but it was a great GP event. They had brought in sort of heads of investment from the firm, and the head of investment said, "We've gone from Tina to Tara," and I'd never heard this before, but Tina is...
I know Tina.
There is no alternative.
Right, to the dollar, really, or to the U.S.
Well, in this case, we're talking equities.
Yeah, okay.
Right? There is no alternative to equities. To Tara, there are reasonable alternatives.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
We've been in a Tara mode now for a long time. And this is why venture capital is constricted. This is why, private equity is constricted. And so we've been covering the Fed for that reason. But I think we're at this point now where we have to acknowledge that the geopolitical forces, the currency alliances that are forming, the trade deficits that are constantly, on display, even after the reconciliation budget, it's like it did nothing to the deficit, right? It basically traded out dollars from entitlements to dollars for defense and ICE. I'm oversimplifying, but it didn't do anything to the deficit. You know, you have to have a serious Goldilocks scenario for actual deficit shrinking to happen based on the reconciliation budget. And so,
and what alternatives was he or she referring to? Like crypto,
fixed income,
fixed income,
fixed income, right? I mean, it's been,
That's going to be
I'm just saying. This is why we have less capital.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have for 3 years straight now. Right. So anyway, let's keep moving. But all right, going into the jobs, I'm going to flash through these quickly and let you sort of drive the narrative, and then we'll have a short discussion. So
Wall Street Journal, U.S. added 911 fewer jobs in the year ending March. So this was the story of BLS revised several months and quarters. I think it was all 12, and it was a revision significantly down.
Yeah, I mean, almost 1 million, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Almost 1 million. Okay, so then the next story is about jobless claims.
Yeah, this week. So we went from long-term to really short-term. I think maybe last week there were, go to the chart.
Okay.
There is BLS does this weekly, and then they roll it up to monthly, and then they do quarterly, and then they do the whole year, and it takes a long time. I mean, we just got the year ending March final numbers in September. So it's pretty backward looking. But so we don't know how accurate this is. That's what I mean. But it jumped up to the highest in about 4 years. Last week, more people, 263,000 people filed for unemployment. And the note really was the rate of change in my mind. It really jumped up dramatically. And that may be just a blip for some reason, something happened, or it could be the start of a pretty worrisome trend.
Yes.
I don't know if we really know right now, but just to note it.
Yep. All right. And then more job data.
Yeah. So in August, so this is the monthly report for August, 22,000 new jobs. Very anemic report. Not many new jobs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching, we've also got the chart here, and you can sort of see coming from 2022 down to present moment. It's a pretty clear slope downward.
That's right. And so then healthcare has been by far the largest job creator in the economy, which is great. We're all healthcare people. Mostly they're listening, but we also know there's several storm clouds on the horizon in the healthcare industry. And if that's the one thing holding up the jobs part of the economy, that makes me worried. So it's good news, bad news. I mean, I guess it's good that healthcare is holding up compared to other groups, but it's worrisome.
Yeah, and to be really clear, again, if you're watching, not listening, you can see this chart that we've got here from the Wall Street Journal, and it's one of those bar charts where they show you, the total amount of jobs, but they'll show you like the key sector they're trying to highlight and how much it makes up, and it's a serious concentration risk issue at this point. Like, basically, without healthcare, you're flat.
Yes.
Effectively, right? I mean, it's something, just by eyeballing it, it looks like it's 90% of the jobs that were added were all in healthcare. And what we know is it's going to be staggered over the course of a decade, but we know we're taking $1 trillion out of healthcare, and everyone's looking to use AI because the rates are coming down and you're not going to be able to pay the people. So, I think we're going to look month over month to see if healthcare continues to be this concentration risk and jobs added to the overall market. But if this is where we are, if one single industry that we already know, based on the reconciliation budget where it's headed over the course of the next 10 years, is the only job engine that we have, then we don't have a job engine.
Yeah, we
have no job engine.
Right.
So I don't know if there's anything more to say to that.
No, that's right. And so people believe that the Fed will cut rates in a few weeks when they meet. Of course, we don't know, but I think they should. Even though inflation is beginning to tick up, I think they almost have to try to at least start the process.
Yeah. All right. All three major stock market indexes close at records on hopes for deeper rate cuts.
Yeah. So that's the craziness of our stock market, is that bad job news makes people think, well, that means the Fed was more likely to cut, and that'll be good for stocks.
Right.
And so stocks, all three, the Russell, the S&P, and NASDAQ hit all-time highs on Wednesday. So it's counterintuitive, but it is true, I think, that the stock market benefits more from Fed cuts because the jobless amounts and the cut of jobs might reduce overhead and increase profit margins, and yet they're going to get a lower Fed rate. So anyway, they're to records.
I don't know about you. I am hearing the term K-shaped economy more and more and more in the general discourse.
Yes.
Like people are becoming
it's almost
more and more
now
aware.
common. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It felt like an industry kind of thing.
We were having to explain it when we started, and industry insider term.
Yeah.
And now it's pretty common.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you need to say, right? It's like continued all-time high records for stocks and super lows.
Let's go to the next story
jobs.
because this is part of the K-shape. So this is Wall Street Journal. Inflation erased income gains last year, but the chart that I want to talk about is a 5-year view. Income, meaning incomes adjusted for inflation, really is stagnant over the last 5 years. And so if you are relying on your wages to fund your lifestyle, your house payment, your rent payment, your car payment, food, you're losing purchasing power or treading water based on what segment you're in. And the more vulnerable segments, the lower income, minority segments, women, all of the more at-risk segments are worse off.
Yeah. And I guess like when we think about stocks, right, and the stock market, and then we think about inflation against income, it's, inflation is consistently, it's a tax, right? I mean, it's consistently devaluing the dollars that you hold. Stocks are a shield against that because they're assets and, they're kind of
benefit from.
They benefit from that. So they're not just appreciating, they're also appreciating relative to the dollar, right?
Yes.
But you have to have excess capital in order to buy the stocks because, you need the money to take care of your cost of living. And if you're flat to going down, or especially like if you're down in near poverty or poverty, you have no chance at getting to the assets. And so you're losing.
Yeah. And it becomes really hard socially because from like the society, not individual social, but
right.
You don't have much hope. You're working a full-time job, maybe you have a second job, and you can't keep up, meaning you can't buy the same things you used to be able to buy, even though you make, nominally you make a little bit more money per hour. Your purchasing power has gone down. Right. And that is not a good place for large segments of the population to be, just from a motivation and where they go next.
Yeah. So I think does that close out the
that closes out the
closes out the story. Yeah. It's a grim picture, folks. I mean, I don't really know what to say because you and I, we are in the asset business, right? We're literally in the capital asset business, and so there's no other way to say it. Whether we've been struggling or not struggling, we certainly are on the upper part of the K. Yeah, it's just not. Right. It's just not a question, right? You know what I mean? We have to keep it honest. But I think the truth is that doth not make a healthy society. It makes a more dangerous society, I believe. The further the K is allowed to diverge, the more dangerous society becomes. And at what point does the upper part of the K realize that it's self-destructive at the end of the day? Okay, you have all these assets, but the society you live in is melting. It's fundamentally melting, right? I mean, it's kind of like this really ugly Ponzi scheme.
It doesn't end well. I mean, I don't know how an individual can interact except to follow the financial and emotional incentives that are provided to you. Right. So the upper part of the K is going to keep behaving the way that they're behaving because every single person is making their own little decisions for them, and it is the right set of decisions for their incentives. but the overall kind of population-based direction is really bad. And so eventually that's going to end in a not a good place. But the question is when and how.
All right, let's quickly move to VC.
Yeah.
Strive Health secures $550 million to advance value-based care kidney model. This is Series D funded by NEA, includes participation by CVS Health Ventures, Capital G, Echo Health, several others.
Yeah, so kidney care is one of the best examples of how you can really make a good impact on people's lives and on the total cost of care by getting in early and helping people stay out of sort of the end stage renal disease and just stay in the sort of pre-kidney disease phase. There's another private firm here in town, a Monogram, that's also doing it, and they've both had good success.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Urchin, friend of ours, they're in the First Cressy portfolio. Yes. They've done really well. So those seem to be the two big names.
Those
right?
are the two big.
Strive Health and Monogram Health.
That's right.
And they continue to attract more and more capital. I think, like so many value-based care models, it would be interesting to me to know the actual financials. They're both privately held. Mm-hmm. My guess is they're not incredibly profitable, if profitable at all, but it's the model of the future. It's going to eat the old model. It's going to eat away at the dialysis business. Yeah. And I think that's the bet that these later stage growth investors are making at this point. They're not looking at like, when is this thing going to turn profitable?
Yeah, they're not trying to cash flow it today.
No, it's just going to eat the predecessor industry. Yeah. And I think that's why we're seeing, $500 million checks being written into these companies at this point, right? And Hello Patient secures $22.5 million as investors bet on AI voice agent growth.
The use of AI for voice interactions in healthcare is what Hello Patient does. Mm-hmm. I just did a guest episode with one of our portfolio companies, Alex Hart, with Lena Health. Same thing. He uses AI for voice phone calls. He does SMS messaging too in healthcare. I think it's a trend so that'll be published probably a week from now.
Okay, great.
But yeah, this is sort of the next phase of AI, I think, voice.
All right, moving into policy. MAHA Commission's 128 recommendations on kids' health include more research on vaccines and antidepressants.
Fierce Healthcare did a good job sort of pulling out maybe 20 of the most important of the 128.
Okay.
And so, there's the first one is full price transparency, but then a mental health diagnosis working group, collaboration with states on prior auth. So, there's several really big, it's 128. Kennedy and MAHA, and really the whole Trump administration has had this strategy to almost like to flood the zone with massive numbers of changes, and they won't get them all pushed through into regulation and policy and utilized, but they've been getting a lot of them.
Quick question. What do you mean when you say they won't get them all pushed in? They've got the full stack. So do you think it's just a matter of change management? It's just not possible to get these many things through because they don't lack any political will or capability to do it. Do you think it's a capacity issue to actually push all these things through? Yeah,
I think there's just bureaucratic.
I guess my point is they're going to cut half the regulations and.
Yeah.
So I'm trying when you say I always wonder when you say stuff like that, it feels like you're pulling from previous administrations, like what has been typical in the past. And I just always want to gut check, is that just like a typical what we would say about a previous administration? Or is there something specific about this group that makes you think they won't get all of it implemented?
Well, many of the things I think are kind of vague. So we just got to pick one out.
Pick one.
Promoting direct primary care model with health savings accounts, as well as enrollment into high deductible plans. And so, okay, they want to promote.
It's not measurable.
It's not measurable.
It's not measurable.
Right, so it's going to be a challenge. A new vaccine framework that certainly is being pushed out, but the various physician groups and states and things are fighting back. So, they're not going to get 128 things pushed all the way to the finish line, but there's so many of them that they're going to get lots of things to change. That's kind of what I meant.
I just wanted to clarify that because I think it's important.
I wouldn't think you have to read all 128 in detail and expect that to be the new administrative position. I think it's much more of a pushing everything forward.
Understand. Okay. Healthcare software giant Epic must face rivals antitrust lawsuit. U.S. judge rules. It's a big one.
Yeah.
We haven't, we covered the particle health story on antitrust. Man, it might be more than a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's a long time ago.
It might be more than a year ago. We haven't heard anything about this for a long time.
Right. And Epic is now in the antitrust crosshairs.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of exposure.
I mean, Judy was a big Obama donor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I hate to say it, right? But like that's...
I mean, the Affordable Care Act made Judy a lot of money.
Look, ever since Bill Gurley's regulatory capture talk at the All In Summit, I think it was 23, and I would encourage listeners. We talked about it many moons ago, but like, go check it out on YouTube. It probably has less than 500,000 views. Just search for Bill Gurley regulatory capture.
It's named after the number of miles between DC and Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Okay.
I forget how many miles it was, but
go check that talk, because that to me was the first time a real thought leader in Silicon Valley educated that audience broadly.
Yeah.
Not only about Epic's dominance, but also about the High Tech Act. Yeah. About, sort of the way that everything got drafted and how much Epic benefited from it.
The
and
amount
also
of government investment that Epic benefited from.
And the fact that doctors got paid to implement it, right? And really just sort of frame that as like, the way he framed it was like, wouldn't you like it if the government paid your customers to take on, to buy your software, right? It was that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like this has been building since that moment, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. Trump moves to crack down on drug advertising. This is a big deal.
Yeah. So they are trying to crack down on all video-based advertising, which is largely TV. I think both Trump and Kennedy working for him are very aggressively going to go after that. Has several knock-on effects that are going to affect healthcare. But also, there's maybe 50% of several cable TV shows are funded by this. It's going to be significant.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold, right?
Yeah.
One, it will almost certainly crater cable news.
Yes.
Right. It'll crater cable news.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius. We've all watched cable news. We know how much of it's funded by the pharmaceutical industry. So that's one. And then the second thing is it will then become very, very challenging for pharmaceutical companies to find a path to, what I would say, I mean, we're going to cover him and hers and some other groups, but it really moves everything online where, quite frankly, pharmaceutical companies have been behind.
Yes.
They've been behind. And this has always been a concentration risk issue, where TV has been their channel to build awareness. And it's
yeah. And it's going to, I think it's going to be a place where Kennedy has a lot of success, whether it is a complete ban or not. That's another area that I don't know if it'll be complete or not, because there is still the First Amendment and free speech. But they're going to cut back a lot of things, and
whole new world.
It's going to change everything. Yeah,
whole new world. Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see how much that impacts cable network stocks. I mean, I would imagine
it's going to be dramatically bad.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be brutal, really bad. California bill would put private equity healthcare deals under scrutiny. The bill awaits action by Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat who vetoed a similar measure last year.
The legislature in California is, significant majorities on the Democratic side. They passed a similar bill last year that Newsom vetoed. But Newsom has changed his stance pretty dramatically overall in the last 12 months. And I don't know if that means he's going to veto it again or not veto it again. But it's a pretty big risk for private equity. And I think we're definitely I'm seeing the states, whether they're blue or red, both sort of making their own changes in healthcare policy. Florida, of course, with the vaccines is doing all the stuff they're doing, which is maybe good for Florida, but not
It's
typical.
Scary. I think you can say
scary,
it.
Scary.
I think you can say it. It's scary.
And this is also scary in a different way, right? Like coming in and saying these for-profit investors have a different sort of set of requirements than some other, maybe a publicly traded company versus a nonprofit. That's also it's not as directly scary, but it's a scary trend.
Yep. CMS issues guidance on limits for state-directed payments in Medicaid.
Yeah, so we've been covering this for several months.
Yes, more headwinds.
The Medicaid game of increasing taxes, increasing payments, and then getting money from the feds. They've been trying to cut it back, stop it, limit it, and this is another attempt.
It's going to happen.
They're gonna find a way to do it. They sort of keep working on things.
Yeah. So just kind of a continued watch this space for when the shoe actually drops, right? Supreme Court agrees to fast track Trump's tariff appeal. So, another step towards finality in figuring out whether or not the Trump tariffs are legal or illegal.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there's a more than 50% chance that even though the Supreme Court is, pretty conservative, I think they're more than likely they're not going to say that the IEEPA tariffs are not legal, which is going to be a huge change, and the government will have to refund all the money, or they'll find some other way to charge tariffs. But it's going to be a lot of chaos in November, and so I'm just trying to keep talking about it so people pay attention.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
see. It's certainly not a slam dunk. This Supreme Court is very behind.
That's why it's even 50%.
The power, they're very behind the power of the president, right? The president's authority is very, very broad in the eyes of the Supreme Court, and so I just constantly worry. I mean, it's like I asked you to double click on the whole, what do you mean when you say they're not going to get it done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I just worry that many analysts view this in an old lens, and aren't looking at, I forget, what's it called? The unitary authority theory?
I don't know. Sort of presidential power theory.
Yeah. It's like unitary something, right? But like, it's kind of this, like, the president can do whatever the hell the president wants. Like, there's a theory out there, that is like the president is supreme. And when I look at the decisions that the Supreme Court, let's talk. I don't know if you talked about it last week or not, but that decision about ICE and being able to discriminately pull over people based on profiling. Yeah,
we did not talk about it, but that was scary too. Yeah,
I'm just like, okay, like, what can't be done then? You know what I mean? Like, we're getting to a place where civil liberties do not appear to be the default anymore,
right?
And the government power, specifically in the executive branch, in the eyes of the Supreme Court, I think is very, very broad. So I struggle knowing the leanings of this court with anything better than a 50-50 assessment.
Yeah.
That's just my, it's my bias on it. Okay. Health insurance costs for businesses to rise by the most in 15 years.
Yeah. So
this drives a big part of my investment thesis.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about varieties of this story for a long time. Costs are coming up.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And that's going to continue. And eventually businesses are not going to provide coverage. They're going to shift to, other means. And there'll be different ways to pull risk. But right now, they haven't gone there, but this year is the highest in 15 years. And over the last couple of years, it's been up and up and up. So eventually, this is going to stop providing coverage.
It's so interesting because you and I have been doing this full time for 11 years. You've been in healthcare longer than that, not exclusively, but longer as an investor. And I mean, for how many of those 11 years did we just sort of say, Incumbents are going to do the incumbent thing.
Yeah.
Status quo is going to status quo. And like probably
9 of the 11 years or something. Maybe 10. Maybe 10.
I think 10.
Yeah, right.
I think 10. I think 2025 is the first year that we can honestly say all the disruption we've been squinting to try to see when it's going to land. Right? I mean, how many discussions do we have about the when?
I mean, that's all
we've talked about for a decade.
Yeah.
And like literally, it was 2025, and it's like, oh snap!
Yeah.
It's here.
Right.
It's here. It's like all here.
Yeah. And if you're not paying attention at the level of detail every week that we are, I think you could be too casual about it. Like, well, I've heard noise about this for a long time. It's not going to change. There's a lot of people in Nashville that are like that. And
most of them have already made their money, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the thing. Like, for them, the stakes are not very high.
Yeah.
Right. New survey finds more employers are weighing the switch to a transparent PBM.
Yeah. So I put PBMs inside the payers because it's sort of funding pharmaceuticals. Yeah. So related to the cost of insurance, employers are tired of PBMs that are, very criticized, and they are setting out to save money for the employer. But I think employers now are saying, we're just going to go to a transparent model. It'll be cheaper with a lot of the medications. All the generics and things are less expensive. And then we will pay a little bit more for the name brand drugs because we're not getting the same kind of rebates. But it's a trend to watch because it's going to really affect the overall market, I think.
Yep. CVS Caremark hit with class action lawsuit over decision to drop Zepbound from formulary. I mean, I didn't directly comment, but the PBM story is one I feel that we have been covering almost from the beginning of Health Further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there have been chinks in the armor for a long time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the pretty bad, probably trailing 12 months that the payers have had has involved a lot of chinks in the armor to the PBMs. And now it just feels like they're kind of defanged at this point. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to be attacked on a very, very regular basis, and they're not going to be a stable source of profits for these very, very large payers going into the future. Predictably,
I think this story is evidence of that. I mean, Zepbound. So what CVS did was they no longer have Zepbound in the formulary. They only have Wegovy.
Wegovy, right.
And they're being sued that Zepbound, some patients would prefer Zepbound.
Yeah.
Or their doctors recommend
Zepbound over Wegovy.
Right.
Like Zepbound is what is needed.
Yes. And
I think it's important. It's not a preference. It's a need. That's sort of what the class action suit is claiming.
Claim.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, it's not a preference that's being claimed. It's a need that's being claimed.
Yeah. A lot of the point of PBMs is to have a formulary that is limited so that they can drive volume up on those names and get rebates. That's the basic PBM playbook. And Zepbound and Wegovy are direct competitors. And yes, they have a different method of action slightly, both GLP-1s. Sure, doctors might prefer one or another based on your metabolism, your genetic makeup, what they see as your other constellation of health situations. But if CVS can't decide amongst direct competitors in their formulary, I don't know what a PBM does. I mean, that's sort of their main job. But I think your point is right that they're being attacked, and they're gonna have to settle these things because they're not in a position of strength at all.
Right. Yeah. It's obviously good for Lilly, to have this class action suit in place. But I just think the PBMs are embattled on a lot of different fronts right now.
Yeah.
Okay, some good news on the payvider side.
Yeah.
Kaiser Permanente and Renown Health unveil an insurance outpatient joint venture. So this is in Nevada, and this is Kaiser bringing their payvider model to Nevada.
Yeah. Yeah, they partnered with a local, relatively small, but been around for a long time payer. Yeah, functional payer.
Knows the market.
And Kaiser expanding, I think, is positive. So it's great to see them growing.
High performing. They know how to be profitable. They know the payvider model.
Yeah.
They have the whole Ryzen thing that is making them a national player.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, Kaiser's a bright spot in healthcare for sure right now. Hims and Hers Health expands testosterone offerings. So they're just continuing to cover, these things that are in high demand, especially for, I would say probably Gen X, demographic, right? Our demographic, when you think about hair loss, erectile dysfunction, and now testosterone, right? I mean, it's a heavy focus on our generation, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think it's our generation is the most utilization, and younger also will use Hims and Hers for whatever their needs are.
Yeah. But age-wise, I mean, it's your 40s.
Yeah,
and,
right. When you start to care about healthcare.
Yeah.
Before that, you're...
And these things start to become issues.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Testosterone drops, start losing your hair. It's in your 40s for mostly, right?
Yeah, so Hims and Hers is probably the largest of decent set of companies that are kind of stepping up as a direct consumer. Forget about insurance. Just when you need healthcare, come to us and we will help you get what you need.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be more and more people interested in that.
Totally. And I think the idea that, they have a telehealth piece, but the core thing is they will get you what you want.
Yeah.
Right. They're focused on the things that have a consumer demand. Right. There's so many things that require a diagnosis where the consumer doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
But these are things the consumer can self-diagnose.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? I'm losing my hair.
Right.
I feel weak. I don't have sex drive. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, do you need to talk to your own PCP or go through a health system for those things? I mean, I think you don't. You know what I mean?
Right. The other thing that I think this whole crop is doing, but Hims is leading the way, is they're really focused on brand.
Yes.
Like, they are building the Hims and Hers brand.
And the app.
And the experience in a way that healthcare has not done before.
Yes.
There are not strong brands.
Nope.
And you don't get to choose your doctor. There are no doctor connections in Hims and Hers. You're associated with the brand.
You don't care.
And you don't care.
You just want them to say yes.
Yeah.
And give you your stuff.
Right. And that is a change. Whereas in health systems, the doctors often are in leadership, but the doctors also are the connection that your doctor's name, and then the health system brand, you probably know it, but it's not really what you're there for.
Right.
And so I think that's a pretty big change too.
PearSuite and Instacart team up to help community health workers address food insecurity. So this is a very hopeful story because the constraints that the receding of government spending on entitlements, we hope, in the best case scenario, will spur capital investment and innovation, right? And to me, this is an indication that we have that opportunity. PearSuite is an EHR that serves community health workers. Instacart, obviously, grocery delivery service. I think Instacart recognized that they were going to be losing, some business as SNAP and EBT was sort of, dialed in a lot.
Right.
And this is a JV with some capital investment that, helps to fill that gap.
Yeah, that's right. It's hopeful. The people that need food delivery because they are at the poverty line or below the poverty line, getting that taken away is really bad socially and from a health outcomes point of view. And so this is great to see Instagram and PearSuite kind of stepping up to at least begin to fill that need.
Yep. Ozempic maker Novo Nordisk to cut 9,000 jobs. So they are still very much in the process of, turning the ship around. This is 11% of their global staff. So that's a big haircut.
Yeah, that's right. And Novo, they've been struggling for a while, but it's just a trend that these reasonably successful global companies are cutting staff.
Yep. Agree. All right. Novartis agrees to buy Tourmaline Bio in a $1.4 billion deal. So you pointed out that this was different. We've been looking at a lot of $1 billion, $1.5 billion deal, but they've mostly been licensing partnerships, not acquisitions. And this is a pure acquisition on the cardiac side.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it is just interesting to watch. I mean, there was a trend that this is an outlier against. I don't know that it changes the trend. Good to see sort of the Novartis continue to build strength in cardio.
FDA nod for J&J. Drug device treatment gives bladder cancer patients another option. So this is some heavy science here, but I think the big deal is we're moving from something that is, we're dealing with a very aggressive form of bladder cancer, and therefore there was a very aggressive form of treatment that was radioactive in nature, so not pleasant for the patient.
For doctors and nurses.
For doctors to administer.
Not good for the patient.
Family cannot be around the person, so there's isolation there, and that's very, very difficult. And now we're moving to something that's just much more humane all the way around.
Yeah, that's right. So it's good to see any situation where there's a second treatment option where there's only one, but in this case, there's a lot of reasons think this might get adopted at decent scale.
Omada finds that 6 in 10 members maintain weight loss after discontinuing GLP-1s. So, by school grades, 60% would be a D. And as you pointed out when we discussed in the prep for the show, this is not just 6 in 10 people dropping it and maintaining weight loss on their own. This is 6 in 10 on the Omada program. So leveraging all the guidance and the support and the community and the best practices and the tools. After discontinuing the GLP-1, you got 60% success.
Right. So as we have feared, you keep the weight off as long as you keep injecting the drug every week. If you try to titrate off, you have to work really hard at keeping it off, change your lifestyle, change your eating habits. And that's maybe just life, but I think it is, you're right, it's a D. It's presented as a positive in the story, but 6 out of 10 means that 4 out of 10 gained the weight back.
That's right.
And I guess it's positive.
It's
positive.
It's better than zero.
It's moderately
It's better
positive.
than zero, but it shows it's hard.
It's hard.
I guess what it shows is it's hard to maintain.
Keep weight off.
It's hard to maintain once you get off the drug, right? I think that's the point. All right, health and us, although it ain't us because you and I are not billionaires, and I would say very few of our listeners are billionaires. But back to the K-shape economy. I was at Health Evolution on Tuesday here in Nashville, and one of the sort of hallway conversations that kind of continued was, all these billionaires want to be vampires. They don't want to, they don't want to die. They just want to sort of live forever. And how that is just so not on the mind of the average human being on Earth, right? It's such a small group of people who are thinking this way right now. And maybe this becomes something that technology makes accessible and available to all people. I think that is the way that these people are thinking about it. But I think given all the challenges that we have in the world, this comes off really, really poorly.
Yeah, there's no question it comes off poorly. I don't know that it's intentionally bad. People don't have bad intentions, but they're spending billions and billions of dollars on research to extend their own life, and maybe that will filter to the general population, but I think it's a long way from that.
Yeah, and look, Larry Ellison, we're going to talk about Oracle and the incredible path that they've been on since focusing on healthcare. But I think he's also in this group, right? Look at him; he's over 80. He looks incredible, and I think he is living proof that if you have a whole lot of money, there is quite a bit you can do. There's quite a bit you can do. We're into Web3 now, folks. NASDAQ makes a push to launch the trading of tokenized securities. This has been a week of themes in the Web3 crypto space. One of the big ones is that we're going to tokenize everything, y'all. And we've been talking about it for a while, but here we are. NASDAQ is saying it's time to launch the trading of tokenized securities. And now there's a question around, are these tokenized securities actual securities? Are they wrapped securities? Does this mean you can trade 24/7, or are you still limited to being able to trade 24/5, et cetera, et cetera? Lots of questions here. But we are rapidly moving to a world where Web3 is going to be the financial system. Yeah,
that's right. And NASDAQ has the power to really embed Web3 into the exchange, obviously, where it is it's no different. It's the same. They're equal. You can buy the token. You can buy a share of stock. One share is exchangeable into one token, and it's back and forth. And I think it will end up being 24/7 trading. The pace and how we get there might be staggered, but yeah, it's coming pretty much faster than I had expected at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, very, very quickly. Robinhood, a broker built for social media age to launch its own social network. This is one story of several. So I just want to sort of mention that that Base, which is part of Coinbase, is also right now in a private launch, relaunching Base, which was previously Coinbase Wallet, as a social media app. And Farcaster, which has been the social media network of prominence for crypto, already today is allowing you to share your trades and things like that. And so I think by the end of this year, we're going to have three, and Base is built on Farcaster. I don't know what Robinhood is built on from a social perspective.
I couldn't find out. I don't know if they've announced it.
Yeah, so that's something we'll need to kind of, do some offline research on. But at least Base is using the same protocol. It's all built on open protocols. So it'll be interesting to see if Robinhood is building everything on open protocols. But by the end of this year, y'all, we're going to have like at least three viable, well-populated social networks focused around financial transactions where it's actually an open market for creators, right? Where you can be compensated for your activity, not from Meta when they pay you because you get ad impressions, or not by getting paid by X, some centralized player, but where you get paid by the open market because every post is itself a tokenized asset.
Right.
Every post.
Right. And the technology is getting pretty good where it is not 100% transparent, but it's pretty behind the scenes and almost as easy. I mean, maybe I think it is as easy.
I think Farcaster, you can make the claim. Farcaster is as easy as Twitter, as X, whatever.
Right. But then on any of these three platforms that are Web3, I own my tweets or posts or messages, whatever they're called, on that platform. But then also I can take my users, I can take my followers and stay there, go somewhere else. And so they truly are assets. Whereas if you're on Twitter or Instagram, your followers are not yours. And if you decide to go to another platform, you can't take them. I mean, you can put a tweet out and say, please meet me over there, but a large number are not going to. You can't just take them like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, pay attention is what I would say, because especially as, these other platforms just continue to be cesspools. I mean, quite frankly, they're getting less and less usable.
It's hard to use them.
They're getting less and less usable. They are more and more distressing every time you log on to them.
I've been curating my X. I mean, I keep taking people off, and I keep having to take more people off.
Yeah. It's just, and especially on a day like yesterday, right? It just is so ugly. That I mean, these are really big innovations that are coming to the social media world. So very cool. Okay. This startup thinks private equity style deals will kickstart crypto adoption. Inversion Labs plans to acquire low margin companies and outfit them with blockchain to turbocharge efficiency. Love this idea. It's, we need this both in blockchain and in AI, right? People who are going to do the hard work of taking these transformational technologies into existing real world assets and real world organizations, and transform those organizations so that they work for the new world that, these technologies will, I think, dominate the world for at least the next 10 years. But it takes focused companies to go in and do that work. Right. And so this to me is really, really cool. They raised $26.5 million in a seed round and $100 million valuation. And this is great. I think like the idea that putting existing companies on crypto rails to make them more efficient. Right now, when NASDAQ is talking about tokenizing stocks, when BlackRock is going all in, like it's a very, very smart deal. And this is how I think we're going to get more and more adoption. Right, through intentional shepherding of existing companies onto these technologies.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they're going to buy kind of basic economy, like a auto mechanic company, which might be small. Maybe it's just here in Nashville. But then they're going to really make it much more effective with a bunch of crypto Web3 backend tools, build up the infrastructure, and then beginning acquiring others on the platform now of auto mechanics across the country. And I think you're exactly right. That will catalyze, it's going to force other, in that example, other auto mechanics to figure out how are we getting beat this way? And then it just sort of, it's a slippery slope. Then everyone starts having to compete on that front. It'll be better in the long run, but it's going to put a lot of strain, which will be healthy maybe eventually. But these people are smart, but they're going to catalyze the whole economy, I think.
How much of this do you think is driven by, it's just sort of a question, how much of this do you think is driven by stablecoins? Like really sort of making this viable?
Stablecoins are the foundation. None of it's viable without that.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what I think. Yeah. WellSpan Health and General Catalyst expand partnership to test out and scale AI technology. So this was news to me. I actually didn't understand that General Catalyst had a health insurance transformation partnership that was, I would say as important as Summa Health. Summa Health is the acquisition,
right?
But this is pretty big. It's an 8-hospital health system, and they're like doubling down on their relationship. I didn't know this.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, it was news to me, and I think it's great that, it's one thing to watch their work in the health system that they now own, but it's very different to work with an arm's length health system, and they're going full on into AI technologies and really trying to scale it across the ecosystem, similar to the kind of basic economy starting to use crypto. If we start to get good results from this, or just results at all, I think other health systems can learn. We can learn from you, and I can learn from it. Everyone will learn from it.
Yeah. So that's awesome. All right, Modern Healthcare. Oracle highlights new AI tools for hospitals and takes aim at Epic.
Yeah, so Oracle's had a big week. We have 2 stories related to them. They had their event down in Florida. I was not there, but I talked to several people there. They announced that they were going directly at Epic, and they are bringing sort of a new and improved Oracle Health EHR built like from the ground up with AI at the center, and really kind of picking on Epic and others as using bolt-on AI technology. And I think it's great for our industry to have, alternatives. Epic has a great product. They're under a lot of scrutiny right now. And for them to have a significant competitor like Oracle with, plenty of balance sheet strength is great.
Yeah. And moving to the next Oracle story, Oracle and OpenAI signed a $300 billion cloud deal, and this drove a huge increase in the stock price.
Yeah. The stock has been up about 40% this year so far, which is a huge growth in 1 year. And then it went up another 40% yesterday. And it's basically because they signed this $300 billion multi-year deal with OpenAI. And obviously that's going to grow their business significantly.
And there was not much coverage on it except for on X, but I sent you several posts, I think, on X to show that like Oracle simultaneous to this deal did like a major layoff.
Yeah, right.
Kind of
right.
like
Yeah, we covered it last week.
Oh, you did?
Janessa and I covered it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they I forget the numbers now. It's in the show from last week.
Pretty significant.
Yeah. It was a pretty big layoff, and they hadn't announced this until yesterday because they did their earnings release and everything. But they certainly knew they were going to be so profitable and growing. And
lay off anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Lay off anyway. And meanwhile, Microsoft, I don't think we have a story covering it, but Microsoft is working with Anthropic now.
Yeah.
And so what we have is a divergence of that Microsoft OpenAI deal, right? Clearly, the two partners are moving in opposite directions. They're moving away from each other.
Yeah. And I think the quiet winner here is Google. They did the deal with Apple. We covered it last week. They
don't have to give up Chrome.
Yeah, they just keep sort of marching along. And OpenAI is they're going to be great, but they have a lot to work on.
Yeah, agree. Volkswagen to invest $1.2 billion in artificial intelligence by 2030.
Yeah. So, this is one of several stories that we were choosing between. Corporate America is continuing to go like full on into AI. Yeah, a lot. There was a story a couple weeks ago that a lot of projects are not bearing fruit, but I think it was 95% are not sort of being pilots are not being followed up, but 5% are. And I think corporate America is learning from that and then sort of just doing more and more because it's profitable for them.
Yep. And eBay is also going to look to become an AI leader. I mean, look, it's like, I think there's like three things going on right now. If you are a flailing publicly traded company, somebody might come along, do a JV with you and turn you into a Bitcoin holding company.
Right.
Or if you are a large sort of once great, but not that great tech company, why not just turn yourself into an AI company? Right. And SPACs are back. So like all three of those things are like happening
all
at the same
simultaneously.
time. At the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I mean, eBay now, you take a picture, say you want to sell a table, you take a picture, upload the picture, and eBay does the rest of the listing.
Holy what?
That's what they do. You take a picture, you upload it, they do the description, they do the price, they do the comparison to other things. It's now you can edit it, but they give you a full-on listing, totally AI generated. So it's not a bad use case. I mean, I think it's going to be easier.
I really think there's never been a greater time to have agency as an individual entrepreneurial-oriented capitalist.
Yeah.
But like if you are someone who is dependent on institutions for sustenance, my God.
You have to
God.
You have to take your own initiative. You can't rely on
this whole like finding a job thing.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
And like so many people, like that's the game they were taught to play.
Yes. And it's going to be difficult for people to pivot that quickly.
Man. All right. Bringing up the rear, OpenAI executives rattled by campaigns to derail the for-profit restructuring. So this is a last-ditch prospect of leaving California if the regulators complicate the transition to a for-profit company. My bet is they leave California.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably going to have to. They have to turn into a for-profit. They have several $1 billion, maybe tens of billions of dollars that relies on that.
Every high-profile, aggressive company in the Southeast, to include the state of Tennessee, this is my bet, and this is not real knowledge. I need to just, huge disclaimer. Right. I don't know what I'm about to say for fact, but like, I know ECDs, I know the people who run economic development. They read this headline, they're all reaching out to Sam Altman right now, offering him all the things to relocate.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's right.
Of course you are. It's the company of the future.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
California's got a glut. They're willing on principle, I think, to give this one up.
Yeah. And Sam Altman and OpenAI cannot afford, they won't survive if they don't turn it into a for-profit.
No,
because all the money can be taken back.
Yes.
And so it's not a choice. They have to figure out a way to get to for-profit status, and they may have to leave California.
And final story, OpenAI backs an AI-made animated feature film that was going to debut at the Cannes Film Festival called Critters and looks very much like a Pixar film. And so this might be the parting shot to California. On the way out, we're going to take down Hollywood.
Yeah, so they are doing this in partnership with a UK-based production company. And it's a full-length, going to be in theaters movie. They're doing it in 9 months, which is about 25% of the time and less than 25% of the capital to bring it. Now, it needs to be good, so we'll see if it's good or not. But yes, they're leaving California, and then they're throwing this at Hollywood.
But does it really need to be good? It's just a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's a proof of concept. It doesn't actually need to be good. It needs to be viable. Right.
Yeah,
and improve the model.
Yeah.
To then eradicate the existing model.
Yeah. I mean, my bias is the existing model is already dead. They're just zombies. They don't know it.
Man walking.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Dead man walking. Yeah. Man, thank you for bringing me back to the world. I was out for 2 weeks. I was in another headspace.
Right.
And, certainly a grim week in terms of, occurrences in America to return to. But Also, the news, the news never stops. And as Lynn Alden, who we both, watch often, says, nothing stops this train.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the opportunity to sit down and constantly track it and try to understand what it means with you.
Yeah.
Thanks, my friend.
All right.
See you next week.